What's up, guys? It's a Tuesday night. I usually don't do shows Tuesday night, but this week I've got like several shows going on. Tonight I've got my good friend Meredith, who is like I say friend loosely, because pretty sure she's actually AI generated. I guess we'll find out in a minute here. But I think it's going to be a good show. She's an AI generated lawyer and insufferable Eagles fan. This is gonna be a cool discussion. Let's bring her up on the stage. Yeah, and yo, who the
I'm
fuck
an
are you?
AI generated scene queen.
You can't just like go from AI lawyer to AI scene. It's confusing everybody.
I thought this was the emo show.
You're right. All right. So Meredith, thanks for coming on tonight.
Thank you for
Please
having me.
introduce yourself and tell us who the fuck you is.
I'm going to say, after doing this look today, I have a lot more respect for the scene girls. Because it's heavy, man. It's a lot of makeup, and I wear a lot of makeup, but this is a lot of makeup.
Do you feel more emotional? Like
I've been crying the whole time.
Oh my God.
Since I put this on.
I love that for you.
Live free or cry.
Live free or cry. Yeah, I'm glad you're in the club. It's good to have you. So
the
like
background is tripping me out. I'm gonna take it off. I was trying to make it look sad.
No, white is sad too, because it just shows you have nothing on your walls.
I don't, because I'm in court all the time.
Okay, all right. So what do you do? Who the fuck are you?
Well, my name is Meredith, as you said. I'm an Eagles fan. Go Birds. And I am a member of the Libertarian Party Emo Caucus.
Yes, you are.
Very, very serious. I am the Region 4 rep for the LNC, and I am a lawyer, and maybe AI generated.
I'm still trying to figure out if what's going on over there is just AI coming at me right now, or if there's somehow a real being back there pulling strings.
We will never know.
Maybe someone needs to unplug the server and figure out what's going on with that. I've known you for a while. You are a honorary member of the Libertarian Party Emo Caucus, and we talk all the time in chats. Honorary because you talk the most out of all of them, so it makes you honorary, I guess. And I've known you for a long time. Like I'm from California, or I lived there for a few years at least, and you've been affiliated with Libertarian Party of California, and you do lots of cool liberty shit, and you've trying to stay active and do all the good things. So I guess tell me first of all, how did you get involved with this? And why would you suscept yourself to such a thing? I mean, condolences, by the way.
With the Emo Caucus?
No, just in the liberty movement in general. I mean, this is the best thing you've done is be in the Emo Caucus. So
yes, I agree. I have been a libertarian in name since probably 2007. In college, I'm an old person. That was, I think, it was the first fall semester of my sophomore year that I really sort of made that transition. Before that, believe it or not, I was a neocon Republican.
In 2006, you were a neocon Republican?
I didn't know anything.
This was John McCain era, leading up to John McCain?
No, this was Bush era, baby. I didn't know shit. And I have always kind of liked to be a contrarian. So my parents were Republicans, and when I came to the Bay Area, it was really different to be a Republican. So I sort of leaned into that, but I didn't really know what the fuck I was talking about. And then when I did start to learn more, the transition happened right away. It shows that I was never actually entrenched in that neocon thing, but it was more of I always say it was more the America fuck yeah.
Okay.
Thing well, it was enjoyed.
There was a glimmer of patriotism there, I'm sure,
Right.
and like sometimes people confuse patriotism and nationalism, which are two different things,
For
by
sure.
the way, but for some reason they just get intertwined really easily, and they just it's hard to separate the two things. It's okay to be happy to be from a country that sure is more free than most, and to maybe take pride in where you're at, but it doesn't mean that we're anywhere near where we should be when it comes to freedom. And also, nationalism is just the upholding of a nation or a state. And a lot of us,
Right.
especially libertarians, are very against that. So, I do see some people sliding into that side of things online and in the Twitter sphere a little bit. But like, like I said, I don't think it's necessarily wrong to be patriotic at all. I can be patriotic
No.
about a lot of things, but I don't know. And speaking of Bush, like I've never been I've never voted that way. I've never really
Oh, I
supported it.
didn't vote for him,
I
just
was
by the way.
raised in a household that was very similar to like supporting that. I
Mhm.
will say I've got like a George Bush rookie card.
They
When
make those?
Mr. September himself. Yeah, no, there's like no, this is
That's
no.
incredible.
No, yeah, like it's so ridiculous. Like basically we trade our liberties like they are trading cards, I'll say that. But anyways, so you progressed through this and you be a libertarian or at least liberty supporter since 2007. Why the fuck did you get involved with the party?
So I was sort of, it's funny, like a lot of people find Legion of Skanks through Dave Smith. I found Dave Smith through Legion of Skanks.
Yeah.
So I was already just sort of like an inactive libertarian for many years. Followed politics, but like wasn't like going balls to the walls on anything. And I found Legion of Skanks because I was a Howard Stern fan, which turned into being an Opie and Anthony fan, which turned into being an Anthony fan, which turned into Legion of Skanks. Anyway,
Right.
and I found Dave Smith, and they made offhanded comment one time saying, "Oh, you libertarian," and I was like, "Oh." So I started listening to his show, and it wasn't until 2018, 2019 when he started mentioning actually being involved in the party. And I took an interest in that. And then right after that, COVID happened. And I moved, and a bunch of my friends moved out of the state. I moved just to a different town, but whatever. And
you've been out in California like most of your life, right? Like, are you from California originally, or?
No, I grew up in Philadelphia until I was
that's 14. Right. Philadelphia. Yeah. You should just call it, say it for what it is. Yeah.
Excuse me, what was that?
Philadelphia.
Isn't that what we like as emo people? I'm still learning.
Only the self-inflicted wounds.
Yeah, see, like I say in our group chat, I was too busy being popular to have an emo phase. Yeah. So I'm actually a poser right now.
So you say.
Yeah.
But
wait, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, I'm from Philadelphia originally. Moved out here, Bay Area for high school, Southern California for college, Bay Area for law school, and then I stayed here. So when COVID was sort of winding down, I guess in 2021, I was like, God, I need to meet people because a bunch of my friends had left the state. I moved to a different town. And so I just signed up for some stuff. Yeah. And Adrian was actually the first person to contact me to actually come to something.
Nice. Well, I mean, you guys were kind of in the same area, right? Like he's kind of up that way. And like I've known Adrian for a very long time. I used to be kind of like an organizer out there too. And we'd put together events in different areas and only a couple hours apart. But I do remember there was some like meetups where we'd both kind of overlap and do things together as well.
Yeah, I think that was probably before I was getting really involved.
Yeah, no,
I don't think I ever met you here.
No, I don't think that we actually had the pleasure of meeting when I was out there. But I do think that given that California is such a big state, it's so crazy. Like they're really like given the meetups would always have 15, 20 people show up usually, right? But like let's be honest with you, we're talking about 15 or 20 people in cities of tens of millions of people. So it really is easy to feel overwhelmed out there and to not, get, I don't know, there's just so much work to be done. And especially in places like California, it's easy to lose the hope that there's even a glimmer of hope for liberty there, right? It's an uphill battle.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many people I've met who are like, oh yes, I like that too. I feel like a libertarian too. It usually means that they're like a conservative with like weed and
right,
guns
like
and
the
whatever.
Larry Elder types, right?
Sure,
That was like
a little more liberal than that.
yeah.
But they're just like, when I'm like, oh, you should come out to stuff, they're like, what is the point? Basically.
Right.
And it's hard. I have gotten some people interested from some of my Southern California friends. And another thing is, honestly, it's a lot of dudes out here.
Yeah.
And when I meet dudes to try to get them to come, and they're like, oh, I'm going to go hang out with a bunch of dudes. It's not like the most appealing thing in the world.
Right. I mean, that's why I'm trying to get all the scene queens to come and join the party. You know what I mean? And right. Yeah. Well, it's funny. You say that we had someone drop by. It's she said fake emo.
Yeah, she clocked it. Emo. I'm fake as fuck, but I like it.
It's okay. I'm glad you appreciate the aesthetic of emo, but also be careful when appropriating our culture. If you go into a show like that, they might throw you right in the middle of the mosh pit, wall of death, your ass, just bam. You know what I'm saying? But like, just be careful. I'm just saying it's a dangerous culture to appropriate. Probably, we are, believe it or not, the most oppressed minority in the world. Libertarian emos are the most oppressed minority. So definitely. This is just the truth. You know what I mean? So well, we're glad to see you active out there. I mean, you do a lot of work. You recently got appointed to a board, and you're trying to help keep California and promote and grow the movement out that way. So I guess tell us what exactly is your plan for California and what is known as Region 8?
Region 4 here.
Region 4. Region 4, my bad.
We are our own region. Yeah,
that's
we're
right.
Our own region here.
For now. Until New Hampshire takes that away and becomes its own region. But yeah.
Do you want to join an alliance region? No, that would be crazy. That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, no. So, I mean, a lot of what we have to do here in California is we sort of, I'm not going to say issue coalitions because it's not really that, but it's a lot of coalitioning with like-minded people.
So decrim nature, I know a lot of libertarians get involved with stuff like that. And I know that there's it's hard because there's really no chance for libertarians to get elected there right now, at least in partisan races. I know that there's nonpartisan races like city council that we've had libertarians get elected to, or even Jeff Hewitt got elected as county supervisor. And these are crazy situations that don't happen rarely ever.
And Kelly.
Yes. Right. Kelly. He's awesome. Kelly Cardin's such a good dude.
I love Kelly Cardin.
He's one of the best. And but it's an uphill battle. It's an uphill battle in all of America. But when you're in California, you are in the devil's den, and they do not want our liberty.
So we've been working a lot, especially in Contra Costa, with the Taxpayer Association, and basically organizations like that are not necessarily partisan. I'd say they're political, but not partisan. So we try to do, things very specific to the Bay Area. For example, there's also the Bay Area Rapid Transit BART, which people may or may not know about. It's not it's the subway, but it's above ground mostly. They're just dumping money into that. So we have a libertarian on the board at BART actually. And we've been working with her to work on cutting down their spending and all their crazy shit that they're doing. But again, it is hard. And a lot of what is helpful for us personally in California is to get more people involved in general. I will say there's one person who deserves tons of props. His name is Aaron Starr. I'm sure some people
I'm very familiar with Aaron Starr. The guy is a parliamentarian. He's super knowledgeable, but he's also a great activist. Yeah, he's super awesome dude.
So Aaron lives in Oxnard, which is, let's say, a little bit north of LA, kind of a beachy-ish area. And Aaron has sued the city of Oxnard a couple times. and it could be more than just a couple. But off the top of my head, there was one where he actually got the town to pay back residents a portion. I want to say like a utilities bill or something like that. Everyone got like $10 or something, whatever. But it was a large number. It's just split amongst the citizens.
Yeah.
He also recently won a case where he's now he's basically forcing them to abide by the law in California, which is that they need to provide quarterly financial statements, and they weren't doing that. And he just won that, as if my memory serves. And that should be, so their first financial report should be coming. So Aaron Starr does great things like that.
Yeah.
And there are some other things in the works for California, but I can't recall as to whether they're confidential or not.
You need to go after PG&E, those damn crooks.
I would love to. They're the literal worst.
Yes.
I can't remember if these things have been released yet, so I don't want to talk about them necessarily. But we have some stuff going on in the works.
Yeah, it's
bigger, good stuff.
Okay. Yeah, like it's crazy.
Very big.
I'm like a hunter outdoorsman, so I used to love going outside and hiking through the mountains out there, going hunting. And in the 3.5 years I was there, like I saw all my favorite hunting spots just disappear because of wildfires. Like an entire town that I was going to move to, every structure was just wiped out by the Caldor fire. You know what I mean? Like it never stops. And 99% of the time it's most likely PG&E's fault.
It's always PG&E's fault.
Yes.
I don't know if were you here in 2020 still?
I was there in 2020. Yes,
there was there was some big fire up north, and it was
the Paradise fire. Are you talking about no? This was after Paradise, I think. Actually, maybe after Paradise.
It might have been like Green
around
Valley
there,
or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Something like 500 miles north of us, and our sky, the entire sky was orange. For like a week down here, and it just like the smell of smoke was coming into my apartment, even though all the windows and everything were closed. It was really bad.
I mean, I remember driving out from like your area out to Sacramento area, even just going from the Bay over to there. Like it's only like a 2-hour drive, but it took forever because there was this huge wildfire sweeping across, and it was going through Vacaville, which is like the middle point, right?
Yeah.
And it was like literally crossed the highway and jumped the highway. It was like crazy, and it was right. It was nuts.
That's so scary.
Yeah. It was fun.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of work. There's a lot of work fighting the state out there. I mean, and especially when we're all too busy fighting other libertarians.
Can I also give a shout out to Firearms Policy?
I love them. They're based out of Sacramento. They're so cool.
Yeah. They're involved in ongoing litigation with the state of California regarding the constitutional carry type stuff. And last I heard, they had been winning a bunch of motions. And then as far as the last thing I saw, I believe they got California won a stay. So basically,
Judge Benitez is actually one of the judges that is like standing up against this and fighting for gun rights as well. I'm pretty familiar with a lot of these cases because it seems like every year they're trying to like change the law or change the description of what an assault rifle is or whatever they want to call it. And it was so funny because like, for me, like I know guns like the back of my hand. I've been building them and taking them apart since I was a young kid. Like there's so many ways to get out of the California compliant laws if you just build your rifle properly, and it still makes it compliant. It's still not like modded, maybe how you'd prefer it, but like you can have a pretty dope AR still. You just need to know how to like. Talking about. I would have to keep like a copy of the actual laws in my gun case with me at all times because I'd be out shooting and there'd be a warden that would come up to me and be like, yeah, you can't have that. And I'd be like, actually, here's the law. I had one that almost arrested me because he didn't know the laws. And if you go to gun ranges, 90% of the time there's cops everywhere at the gun ranges. So
last time I went, there's sheriffs there.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't know. It's a hard battle. Like, and as a gun guy, like I had to go to the freest place I could find, which is obviously New Hampshire. So, there's a lot of work to be done out there, and Firearms Policy Coalition does a fucking amazing job. They're like literally like the leading advocates for gun rights, in my opinion, in the whole country, because they don't just do work in California.
No, everywhere.
And like, meanwhile, we have like the NRA who's like helping to write half of the bills that
Right.
are suppressing us. So
yeah, I wanted to also say that there's a guy, people probably know him, named Michael Oxford, who is on Twitter as SC Mountain Goat. I believe that's Santa Cruz Mountain Goat. He was running for state senate here. I don't believe he made the cut, but he did a really great job, raised a lot of money. He got fired from a job in 2023, February 2023, for not wearing a mask outside in 2023, February.
Jesus.
So
this is like, that's wild.
Yeah, so there's individual people doing a lot of great stuff here, but where we really just need more bodies. And what we also need is the difficult part with California is it's so spread out. So we have a lot of libertarians, but what it really amounts to is like 10 per county or something like that.
It's really like important too, because I know like when I was out there, there's a ton of libertarians that practice law as well, you know, and like, you know, I've my friend Tyler, who lives out in the Sacramento area.
Love Tyler.
He's such a cool guy. You know, and then obviously you are also dabbling in law. Kind of, I guess, explain what you do, Miss AI.
I'm a lawyer.
You're an AI generated lawyer. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
Well, I am a full-time AI generated lawyer. You know what's funny actually is that earlier today I was doing a demonstration with one of the big legal research brands for their new AI. So,
oh god damn it!
Who knows?
Nice, that's funny.
If I'm compromised or not, but yes, I'm a lawyer.
We'll have to learn from the best.
I am interested in maybe one day getting out of my current field and going into a little more where I can do a little more political activism type stuff. However, I just passed the exam to become a certified specialist. So in California, you can't call yourself I've been practicing family law since I started being a lawyer. However, you can't call yourself a specialist, even if it's the only thing you do, unless you are certified by the state bar. I just passed that exam, which is
that's amazing.
Really hard. I'm the only one in my firm who passed it. Thank you.
That's awesome.
Not to diss the other girls, but you know.
No, I mean, you can flex a little bit. It's
just cool because I didn't really study because I was like I thought it was a lost cause. So I was like, oh, I'll just take it, and then like the next time it comes, it's every 2 years. The next time it comes up, you know, I'll be ready. But I passed. So now I'm like, oh crap, can I change careers? But I'm sure. I mean, I can.
No, you're stuck now.
Yeah, but I mean, there are times where what I do bumps up a little bit against some libertarian-ish causes. That's all I can really say about that.
I mean, so we did have Creatrix dropped in the YouTube chat too and said, Meredith, give us your most controversial divorce takes. Given you practice family law, give us, I guess, some of your controversial divorce takes.
A lot of times when the father doesn't get custody, it's for a very good reason. He's not getting screwed over by the system.
Okay.
I don't know if that's a controversial take.
I mean, I feel like a lot of guys do think that they get screwed. But I think when children are involved, like there's definitely like just a different level there. Like just gotta, you know what I mean? This isn't just like a couple. They've been together for, I don't know, 9 or 10 years, and then they get divorced and they don't have kids. There's no kin involved, and it makes it so much different of a situation. But when there's a child, you need to like look for the child's well-being, and you make sure they're at a good home and taken care of. Right. Now, obviously, like I am not a proponent of alimony. I think that there are other ways to handle things that don't involve alimony. And you might, I don't know, disagree with that. I'm an anarchist. So that is the premise of my reasoning for that. But, you know, I guess like what would you say is a good solution there to make sure the kids are taken care of in a way that you like wouldn't have to involve the state? Because especially as libertarians, we don't want to mess with the state if we don't have to, right? So if we can get away with like making sure everything's taken care of and not messing
with the government, that is the ideal. If we can do, the more we can do by agreement, the better. Right. You still have to file the paperwork and stuff, so it's recorded and all of that. But yes, the more we can do without going to court, the better. So the standard for child custody in California, I believe it's generally the same across other states. They may just interpret their laws differently, is best interest of the child. Now, this means that the court is deciding what is in the best interest of the child, not what's fair to mom and dad. However, the standard in California is also that in the ideal situation, children benefit the most from having equal, frequent, and consistent continuing contact with both parents. The ideal in California is 50-50. It's the goal. We want to get you there if you're not there already. The problem is that, and this is the thing that I've railed against for the trad types for a long time, is that they are setting up talking about setting up these relationships where they're setting themselves up to be screwed in divorce court, because they're setting up a situation where the wife does all the child rearing. She has no job. She's out of the workforce for a certain amount of time. And then, you're, I guess, allowed to sleep with other women whenever you want to. And if she divorces you because of that, she broke the marriage. Insane. But the problem is with situations like that, it really just depends on the dad's history of parenting. But if a dad is like, I've never spent more than an afternoon with the children by myself. They're very young, so they're not comfortable staying overnight with me. I don't know their doctors. I don't know their teachers. I don't know their dentists. I don't know their friends' parents. It's going to be hard for you or your wife or the children to be comfortable to immediately go into a 50-50 situation with you.
Right.
Similarly, a woman in that situation is going to ask you for spousal support because she needs to be able to survive in this situation. And the longer you keep her out of the workforce and keep her solely committed to domestic duties in the statute, those are factors that are analyzed in spousal support cases. So again, everyone is allowed to do what they want to do. What I just say is, even if you have a situation like that, be an active and present father. Prior to the divorce.
That's the thing, is you want to do what's best for the kid, right? So at the end of the day, this whole process is going to go so much easier for everybody if you can just be amicable. But the problem is that when you're in that type of situation, a lot of times when assets are being divided, you're talking about splitting custody, you're already in the mood where you don't want to be with this person anymore. You know what I mean? You've already given it your shot. You're done. A lot of people go into these situations extremely pissed. They don't have a level head. They're just angry. They want everything. They want the other person to just burn. And that's when the kids get burned. You know what I mean? That's when the kids just get royally fucked. And I don't know, it's so hard to, I'm sure that it's probably pretty easy to tell. And obviously, as a lawyer, you have to represent your client and try to get what's best for your client. But it's got to be hard knowing that you also have to do what's best for the kid. You know what I mean? That has to be the priority over everything. Who cares if you're getting a house or not? You know what I mean? Who cares if you're getting a car or not in the settlement? You need to make sure that the kid can get to school and can get to his appointments and do all this stuff. You want to make sure the child's taken care of, and obviously, in my opinion, alimony just promotes state theft. But if you can agree with this amicably outside of the courts and come up with a private agreement amongst yourselves, it's so much easier for everyone.
This is why. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. I was just gonna say I've seen it done multiple times. So
this is why, in a lot of ways, I am in favor of prenups, and I know.
Yeah.
I waffle on it a little bit because somebody did make a good point to me once, that it's essentially you've already entered the marriage with the thought of divorce in your head.
It's not
and
true,
are you
though.
setting yourself up to fail? Sure. Yeah. But I do take that point. That is a point. As my boss was the first person, I always thought I'd have a prenup if I ever got married, just because I assumed that I'd be the rich one. But as my boss said to me once, it was it's better to make this kind of agreement when you love each other than when you hate each other.
Right.
And I think that's why. Yeah.
You're more level-headed. There's you can think more clearly in every way. even like with the prenup being involved, like if there's no children involved in the situation, you can still kind of like, if you want that in your life, you can kind of like have a, I guess,
You can amend them, have a
pre-examine the
post-nuptial.
situation, but you can also like come up with things like before that happens, because who knows, like once you find out the person's pregnant, maybe then you're like in the worst thick of the situation. That's not probably also the best time to be thinking rationally or reasonably either. So you can like arrange some of this stuff, kind of, if you have an idea of what you would be wanting or looking for in that situation. But I mean, I'm sure that's very rare and very uncommon to do. But I mean, prenups are, becoming, I think probably that they're probably not common enough. But also neither is common sense. So
they're not common at all. And I do take umbrage with, I think it is Fresh and Fit or the whatever podcast, or both of them. Probably both of them, because they really just say the same shit.
Yeah,
say that they get invalidated all the time. That's not true. I have invalidated prenups before, but it's not that easy. There's got to be something, like there's standards and reasons, and so I'm just saying it's not like they're not just like, oh, any little, like there's a spelling error on page 5, it's invalid.
Right.
That's not.
No, not at all. Yeah, it's
at least in California.
I mean, California is like pretty strict on this stuff too.
One thing I want to say too about this kind of stuff, and I don't know if I had this conversation with you guys already, but it is interesting about the sort of trad life, because in a lot of ways, there is wisdom in seeking more traditional lifestyles and roles, but California, for all its faults, is incredibly gender neutral in the structuring of its laws. Right. And that kind of benefits fathers and dads and husbands, because the court cannot consider gender. Of course, you can't get into a judge's head and ensure that they didn't. But I'll say, I think that the judges do a very good job of it here. So the more sort of progressive states seem to be more equal in terms of divorce and family court.
I will say, like in New Hampshire, I know that, they don't really recognize alimony. They don't do alimony really here. It's like a different type of system. If there's kids involved, I think it's a little different. And they do evaluate, your financial assets and stuff when all that's going on. It's very rare nowadays that people actually get alimony, especially if both people are working and they both have jobs. Out here, at least, like I don't really know what it's like out that way, but if the woman's working most of her life, which, by the way, that's like I think my biggest gripe with a lot of trad people is like they just want like a stay-at-home housewife, and like how many times is that like just royally fuck the woman in that situation? I was just watching a video earlier with Brandy, right? And we were like listening to this like lady who, like, they both went to law school, they met in law school. The dude went off and, like 10 years down the road, they have 3 kids, and like she has no job experience. Everything's changed in the last 10 years, but then they get divorced. And she had like, there's no way her law degree and all this stuff like hasn't been neat. She never took the bar, and she can't really go take it now because there's been so many changes in the policies or the testing and stuff. This happens all the time. This isn't just with like crazy lawyer situations, with stay-at-home moms, especially the divorce rate is insanely high, like across the board. It's a failed social experiment. And I know people have fucking hated on me for saying this. I think that, like, my personal opinion on marriage is that it should stay like a religious ceremony, and I don't think that the state should be involved with it at all. And I think that like that's probably the libertarian take, but I'm not going to speak for every libertarian, because some libertarians believe in a minimal state, which doesn't work, by the way, Brandy. So anyways, but like, I think that it's important to recognize all these, like, there's so many nuances here, and obviously, like, we as people should want the best for ourselves. And, we shouldn't be shitting on women that want to go to work. And, like, I think that there's something, there's situations where the stay-at-home housewives thing, that works fine for some people. That they go their whole life and they're just fine. But if we're being honest, that's also probably not in most cases providing the best life for the child either if you have a child. So like you can have double the income and have children and let that kid live a much healthier, fun life. I mean, they don't get to spend as much time with their mom maybe between the ages of 4 and 18, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
well, so my mom worked when we were young. She's a registered nurse. My dad was a tax attorney, which is hilarious. But she worked when we were in Philadelphia. We moved out here. I want to say she didn't work for most of the time I was in high school, excuse me. And she went back at some point, either right before I went to college or when I was in college. And she is still working to this day, even though she doesn't have to. And because of the fact that my dad is retired now, but they had a dual income and relatively high paying jobs, neither me nor my two brothers have any student debt. So for people who complain about college being a scam because you graduate $100,000 in debt, I mean, I have no debt. So,
I had no college debt either.
Yeah.
I would like build things and sell them in the summertime. I worked usually 2 jobs in the summertime. Like there's a lot. I mean, but law school is way more expensive.
Yes. Well, the point to this was also that people assume that if you want a dual income, that it's because you like want to buy Gucci and this and that and the other thing. Again,
which you might. Let's be real.
Well, I do. But I was a competitive equestrian when I was younger, and that is a expensive hobby, but it was very enriching and good, and I learned a lot. Certain things, I think competitive sports are incredibly important, and it's probably something that's missing in a lot of children's lives these days. I could not have done that sport if my parents didn't have a dual income. So I'm just saying, like, this idea that it's materialistic, and I was always complaining at the time. This is so embarrassing, but I was always like, my parents won't get me a BMW. And they're like my friends whose parents did get them BMW.
I still have the old iPhone.
Right. They had to get student loans. So,
yeah,
whatever. The point being is that I wouldn't assume the worst of everybody who wants. Some people just like to work. Like they assume that everybody's got these like email marketing jobs, and I guess a lot of people do, but there are other jobs out there that a lot of other jobs people do that they enjoy. So it gives you a sense of purpose, I'm sure.
Right. And I mean, I think that like being productive and going to work keeps your mind busy too. Like I mean, for women that want to stay home and just take care of kids and raise kids all the time, and it works out great for them. Like that's awesome. I'm stoked for you. This just isn't like a norm thing. And like to try to like advertise it as like, this is what it should be for everybody, I think is an injustice. I think it's like, I don't think that it should be normalized by any means, because especially in this day and age, it is not normal. If you want your kids to live a good life, having 2 incomes, being able to help them pay through college, do things that they love to do, like be equestrian or play expensive sports. Like, do you know how much it costs to get a kid into play a season of football in high school nowadays? It's expensive.
Hockey,
it's an expensive hobby. Anything, you know what I mean? Like kids are expensive. As parents,
to me personally, I could not imagine a bigger nightmare than being home with children all day. It sounds horrifying, and I'm sorry. I don't want to shit on the women who do that. There is something within you that is amazing. I don't have it. And there is a level of patience, and like talking to children all day and nobody but children would like drive me up the freaking wall. Yeah. So I know that there's many women out there who are suited for it. It is an amazing thing to be able to do. I find that it is very difficult to trust strangers with your children, for example. So I understand that. Schools are indoctrination camps. I understand that. I just don't think it's right for me unless it was like maybe me and a couple of friends and we were all homeschooling each other's children together.
That's what I'm saying, is like equally so. It's just as hard to like have the capacity to be able to homeschool a kid. I was just going to mention that. Like not everybody should or can homeschool a child. Let's be honest about it.
And I don't know how legit this is. And I'm honestly, I'm not making a judgment call on this, but the the rates of special needs children. Hi, Christina. The rates of special needs children are completely increased. I don't know, again, how legit that is.
Especially among libertarians where we're all autistic.
Right.
So.
I don't know how legit that is. I know that in my work, it seems like, a lot of the people getting divorced have special needs children. And you might say like, oh, maybe that caused a divorce, but they're not intensely special needs. It's like, right. The IEP type kids. Assuming that that's very difficult. I don't know. I don't know anything about children, to be honest. I think they're very cute. That's it.
It is. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to take in. And well, like, I know that this is like your thing, and I'm stoked for you that you're a specialist. I think that you're going to be
not yet. I have to finish some other requirements, but I passed the test.
Okay. Well, you passed the test and you're on your way. Yes. And, if I was a child, I would want to have you on my team to fight for my rights.
Live free or cry, baby.
Live free or cry. Yeah. So like, we've gone over the Libertarian Party stuff, some of the lawyer stuff. I was going to try to talk about sex work a little bit, because I know you absolutely have a disdain for sex work. I want to hear you out. I want to hear, and here's the thing. I am anti-banning sex work, and I'm sure that you are anti-banning anything too. This is just how it is. I obviously, like, I don't encourage people to do it, but also like I don't care if somebody wants to do this with their life. I think that they can do what they want, and I think that there's like money to be made there. They're filling a market need, and some people love it. Some people actually love it. They love to do the work. I actually have an OnlyFans model coming on my show tomorrow night. So like, yeah. So like, it's like one of those things where it's like, I'm not saying I want porn on everyone's walls or on every street. It's live and let live. That's my thing here. And I've never like utilized really, or I've never really paid a dime into the sex work industry, but I would say that like, I just let it be. And I will advocate for their rights to do so. That's basically where I'm at.
Right. So I'm glad that we clarified that we as libertarians don't think it should be banned.
Right. Because too many people are yeah.
I mean, come on. Obviously, no. But I want to make a distinction between OnlyFans and prostitution, because I understand that now sex work does seem to mean porn. And I think Brandy even said she believes it applies to strippers. I don't know if that's the case broadly, but sure, when I'm talking about sex work, I'm strictly thinking of prostitution. And I think that is bad for women. Before you say, what about men? That's a separate issue, and we can get to that. I'm talking about the women who engage in prostitution. It is a huge myth that there's these happy hookers hanging around in high-rise apartments, setting their own schedule and only sleeping with the finance bros and diplomats and things like that. That is 1 or even like 0.1% of the sex workers. Usually there's some trafficking involved somewhere. And trafficking, by the way, people have an incorrect opinion of what that actually means. Trafficking is very specific, and it includes being pimped out in general. So and many are working for pimps. Many are extremely poor women, history of abuse, or were in it in their early 20s and then are 45 and hate their lives. So I want to dispel this myth of the happy, free sex worker. That's like Ayla and maybe a few other people out there.
It's funny because she just mentioned in the comments too. She said that's because the smart hookers are unseen. She's not wrong.
Sure, but again, that's such a small population. If you look at, there is a great organization out of Europe. So Europe, they are trying to institute something called the Nordic model, which is decriminalization of sex work for the sex workers, but criminalizing the Johns. I don't agree with that either, because I don't think that a voluntary transaction should be criminalized.
Yeah.
However, I don't think it's as bad as people who think that criminalizing something prevents it.
This is the oldest occupation on earth, by the way. So like, this is not something new. It's not something that can be banned, even if you wanted to.
No.
Right.
My purpose is that I want to educate young women about the horrors of sex work for a lot of them. And I also think that men should realize what it does to their psyche to think of vagina as a commodity that can be bought, at will and whatnot. And I just don't think
people that like partake in that don't partake in, like going to get a prostitute or whatever, that have this very similar mentality. But like, if we're being honest too, like, and I know you've heard this study because I think me and you have talked about it before, but since, this stuff became more prominent and porn became more regular, domestic violence against women has gone down a lot. And it's not usually taking place against prostitutes. That is, like, I'm not saying that there's not a high domestic violence rate in that prostitution world, because I know that there is. And I'm not like negligent with that. But I do think that, like, I don't think it's probably, I think that like, this is not like an everyday normal thing. I would say that like women that do this, and go out there and they're, I guess, work in the streets in Vegas or wherever the hell they are, which actually Vegas is like another extreme too. Most of this stuff happens through websites on the internet, like all over the country. That's probably the majority of prostitution goes on there. Like, Vegas is not like the prostitution hub for America. So
no, it's not actually. I don't even think it's technically legal in Vegas. I think it's only legal.
It's not. It's in the outskirts of Vegas. It's like, I think there's only 2 counties in Nevada.
Nevada, and then wherever the Bunny Ranch is.
Yeah, wherever Reno is. I think there's only 2 that it's illegal in, and I think it's Reno, where Reno is, and where Vegas is. Like, there's like outside of the major cities, you're allowed to do it. Yeah,
that could be correct.
But anyways, but like, like, domestic violence is an issue. Like, this is a thing.
So I'm not sure what you mean when you say domestic violence goes down.
I mean,
are you talking about violence against women, or are you talking about domestic violence?
Yes.
So violence against women is different than domestic violence.
Sure.
Domestic violence is against your partner or whatever.
Well, yeah. and I would say, because
like, I don't think outsourcing the violence to prostitutes is a great thing either.
Well, and I'm not saying that that's even necessarily what happened. I just know that, like, since the, like, porn and prostitution came, like, I mean, porn is really like the biggest difference. I think, like, since porn became more commercialized back in the 60s and 70s, the violence against women went down. I think that probably played more of a role in that than the prostitution stuff did, because prostitution's always pretty much stayed the same. It hasn't really gone up or down throughout time. There's always been probably the same amount of prostitutes. And I do see that, like, maybe there's stuff out there right now that might glorify prostitution too much. Like, I would say that, like, there are people out there that advocate too strongly in the other direction, and maybe even encourage it for people. Right. I would never do such a thing. Like, I think that there's really a lot of dangers that people need to keep in mind. Whereas, like, doing OnlyFans or stripping, those things don't have the same threats. You know what I mean?
Sure, but even OnlyFans, again, like, it doesn't have the threat of, like, maybe, well, it could, but I guess doesn't have the immediate threat of violence. I guess I could conceive of a situation where somebody might get obsessed with their favorite OnlyFans creator and stalk them or something. Whatever. I'm not saying that doesn't happen. I don't know. The immediate violence might not be there with OnlyFans, but OnlyFans is doing something to these young women where they're making this decision when they're very, very young, similar to porn stars. I mean, if you listen to, what's the girl's name? Lana Rhoades. I think she was, like, really popular in porn a few years ago. And she did this interview with Emily Ratajkowski, and it was, like, heartbreaking. This is one of the biggest porn stars in the world. And she was talking about the way that the agents and everything and how it works in the porn industry. It's very coercive and weird, but you've got these situations where these girls are coming in at 18 and they're not even realizing that this is lasting forever. Like, you say to them, like, what are you going to do if your son ever sees and they're like, why would he see this? I stopped by the time I had the baby. And it's like, oh, it's the internet. But again, like, that's not my business. I want them to know this, but again, that's not my business. My business is more that I think prostitution is bad for the vast majority of the women engaged in it, many of them involuntarily. And it's bad for the overall culture, that the way that we view sex. It's never going away.
I mean, a lot of
So
like, there's a lot of like escort services that are owned by females too that used to be in the
so
industry.
women can pimp out other
I'm not,
women.
I'm
That's
not
not doesn't
saying,
make it good.
hey, here's the deal. Is like I've been a construction laborer like most of my life, and I'm not saying this is the same type of work, but I have put my body in some very compromising situations for $1, and that's just the truth. And
I don't think it's anywhere near the same.
I'm not suggesting that they are the same. And I am saying I will say this too. I am a man, and if a woman is doing this stuff, I think that there is something there too. Like we're not talking about like men prostituting themselves. We're talking about like I don't know. Like for me, I can see definitely probably there being like a clear like sexual difference biologically, it taking a different toll on a woman than it would a guy too. Like it's probably very like I don't know. Guys are just different with sex. Let's just be real about it, right?
Admittedly, I don't know any male gigolos.
Well, I know a few
gigolos.
hanging around in
I
New
know,
Hampshire, but
I know gay men who are either
right.
rent boys or have engaged in survival sex work.
Mhm.
And the ones who engage in survival sex work have a very negative view about it and what it, did to them, and it has messed them up a little bit. Whereas the guys who just happily engage in it, I mean, it's a totally different thing. So like I'm saying, like there is Ayla out there, there are these chicks who were like born to do this, and it's great. There's such a minority. And I just feel as though there are girls out there who are like, hey, I like sex. I like money. Why not have sex for money? And
like I said, I don't like encourage people to try to like pursue this, but also like if they want to, like I'm not gonna stop them from doing that. Like I hope the best for them, and I hope that violence doesn't get committed against them, and like I hope that they're a high class prostitute that does just go sleep with a bunch of scummy people on Wall Street. Let's be honest, like the nice ones.
Even they can get murdered, but yes.
Sure. Or disappear, right.
Yeah.
But
I mean, there's a reason that many serial killers victims are prostitutes. Usually their first victims are prostitutes. Usually, I mean, there are many out there who the bodies have never been identified because they were just hookers. So it's not all glitz and glamour. And I would like people to be more honest about that. And yeah. I don't love the phrase sex work is work, even though I guess the definition, it is work. It is not like any other work. This is something that is a fundamental act that is intimate, and it's a big aspect of life. And if you ever get to the point where you can't enjoy regular sex because it is a job to you, that's not fun. And talk to prostitutes and porn stars who say that is exactly how things that have happened to them.
Yeah, I mean, like I think that like I said, like, we're probably on the same page. We neither of us want to see this stuff banned because bans don't work. And it's like when it comes to prostitution, it's not possible. But I will say, like I said, I don't encourage people to do it. But if people want to do it, that's fine. You would probably obviously advocate more like against it. I'm more of like a live and let live type of guy. If people want to sell their body for whatever, this is just laissez-faire, whatever. Like, it happens. I think that like there's a lot of nuance with this stuff. And I think that the discussions are important, but also like, I realize that there is a difference in the sex work industry from prostitution to OnlyFans and stripping and doing
right.
Like there is a gap there. So, and there's trafficking in porn too. Let's be real about that too. Absolutely. Right. So that exists. But it's, I don't know.
There is somewhat more of an air of safety when you're behind a computer screen, or even, I think Brandy has even mentioned this, is when you're on the stage, you're going by a different name. It's in a dark club. It's very different than being on OnlyFans. Although, again, OnlyFans still has that extra layer of protection. But I just want everybody to be clear that the vast majority of prostitutes are women who have been trafficked, pimped, drugged, abused, sold on the street, where most of their money is going to a pimp. That is in the world. I'm talking about the world. That is the vast majority of sex workers. It is not the glamorous Julia Roberts and Pretty Woman situation that everyone wants it to be. I would never, ever want a woman thrown in a cage for engaging in this, nor a man who paid her unless he hurt her.
So in similar ways, like you have prenups before marriage. What do you think about like the idea of like women being like, I don't know, being more responsible about it and maybe having a contract with their Johns? Because like that's a thing too. And like I know for a fact there are a lot of very big name bands out there that will bring women onto the bus and they have to sign a waiver saying they will never talk about what's about to happen on that bus.
Well, I think it really depends
an
on what's in the contract. Like I could see, for example, I watch a lot of SVU. It's one of my favorite shows.
Yeah, this
Even
is
though
why you
it's
got into
gone
family law,
really
right?
downhill. No, even though it's gone really downhill, I still watch it. But there's like multiple times they've like sort of redone the storyline of either a porn star or a prostitute who like agreed to have sex with one guy, but then his friends come in and they beat her up, and they're like, you know, we paid her for it. You can't rape a whore. And it's like, oh, I agreed to have sex, but I didn't agree for you to put it in my ass and punch me in the face. I guess it really depends on what's in the contract, because I could see if regular sex to me is just, you know, regular sex, and regular sex to this girl.
A lot of prostitutes have menus. So like,
yeah, I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Like, really
there's like actual menus. Like if you want this, it's this. If you want this, it's this. Right. Like I've seen like this stuff.
And
go
like
around.
I reserve the right to refuse it in any sort of situation. Sure. I guess. Yeah, that would be sure. That sounds like a good idea. Again, I don't know that.
And I think this is also over complicating a lot of it. But like, if women want to protect themselves, I think that there's ways to do it. Obviously, one of them is stay strapped at all times because you don't know where the fuck you're going. Keep a gun on you everywhere. I think any responsible prostitute would advocate for that. And I think most sex workers probably should too, because they don't know when they're going to have a creepy stalker around the corner that's been watching them for the last 7 days.
Well, again, we're talking a lot of times about pimped and trafficked women who probably can't have that on them, or else they would just shoot their pimp and run away. So
right, it's true.
They might want to have like a switchblade on them or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's I don't know. It's crazy stuff. But I guess we're wrapping up on the show. It's been a good talk. I really like this conversation, and I know we talk on Twitter.
Do you want to talk about football?
Oh, well, that's the thing, you know. I did want to like mention like what's up with your like shitty choice in teams, Meredith? Do you remember this guy? Used to kick your ass all the time.
Your record against us is shit, but I will say I don't have a problem with Eli Manning and the Giants because they whooped the Patriots' ass after the Patriots cheated against us in the Super Bowl. So I don't even have that much of a hard-on of hatred.
I have a hatred because of what y'all did the other year. The audacity to intentionally lose and keep us out of the playoffs. I'll never forget it. And the miracle of the Meadowlands happening twice, there shouldn't have been even one. But the second time,
it's your fault.
It was our fault, but it still pisses me off.
Okay, and fix your shithole stadium. It is responsible for ruining so many players' careers.
It's all right. You guys can just keep enjoying our sloppy seconds with all the players that are going your way.
When is the last time you've been relevant?
Our players have damn sure been relevant. I mean, I'm just saying, like, you know, you can keep taking our sloppy seconds. You can have Saquon and all these guys, which I'm pissed about.
Yeah,
still,
we'll be able to keep him healthy because we actually prioritize an offensive line.
That's all right. We already wrecked his ACL twice. So
I know. How dare you?
Anyways,
that could have been like Barry Sanders, dude.
Well, Meredith, tell everyone where they can find your stuff. Thanks for your time tonight. It was definitely a good conversation.
Do you like my look? I feel like you haven't like addressed it.
No, like let me tell you guys, Meredith went above and beyond tonight. Everybody give her the scene queen cred that she deserves. She put the black strips in her hair. She's got the makeup. She's got the whole appreciation for the scene queen now that she never had before. I appreciate it. The Emo Caucus has taken over the LNC, and Meredith was our first elected official, by the way.
The Great Depressioning.
Yes, the Great Depressioning, the DC do-over, just a couple months away. So
yeah. I always really like that Evanescence song, by the way. That one.
Bring Me to Life?
Yeah.
The one everyone knows? Okay, cool. We can do karaoke in DC. And
I can't sing that well.
Well, you're AI. You can figure it out.
Oh, that's true. We'll work it out.
All right. Well, yeah, tell everyone where they can find your Twitter page. And
I'm on Twitter at Fletch Hercox. Speaking of Eagles, I'm so sorry to see you go, Fletch. Thank you for everything you've done. And if you want to email me, you can email me at meredith.hayes@lp.org. And everything else is the Fletcher Cox name. And it's Fletch her Cox. It's like a play on words. Ha ha.
Ha ha ha. Nice. All right, Meredith. Well, thanks so much for coming on. I'll put you backstage. We'll talk in a second. And yeah, I'll wrap up the show.
Bye.
See ya. Thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight. It was a fun conversation. We got to talk a little bit about everything, divorce, sex work, Libertarian Party stuff, and guns in California. So hopefully you guys had a good time. Definitely go follow Meredith on her channels. And tomorrow night, I will be back here live with an OnlyFans worker named Sophie Fennick. That'll be a good conversation. And then Friday, I've got my dude Ben Heckman coming on. So this is going to be a great week. Really excited for it. Hope you guys have an awesome week too. And we'll see you guys back here tomorrow.